Welcome to episode 69 of Cougars on Cougars. This is Jess. I'm
Hello.
Mary. We're going to get into some super fun dead season talk with Jake Welch here in a minute, but of course we're going to start with our notable quotable.
This comes from George Washington. It is better to offer no excuse than a bad one.
I think it will become increasingly apparent why we chose a quote from George Washington.
Yeah, I can't imagine George Washington took any type of excuse well at all.
Let's get into that discussion with Jake, who is at BYU All Blue on Twitter. So here's that.
All right, we are joined for some off-season fun by Jake Welch, who is at BYU All Blue on Twitter. He is one of our favorite Twitter personalities and Vanquish the Foe contributors. You may know him for his Dead Season series posts that he does. I think this is his third time coming on. So first time we had some Dead Season fun. Second time we broke down some X's and O's after the USC game together in LA. And here we are again, joining us via Skype from Los Angeles. Welcome, Jake.
Thank you. Do you like my really inconspicuous lighting here? It's here next to my book. I'm trying to look really super smart, so I have my Harry Potter books that I've never read.
I love it.
And then like a bunch of other just really other leather-bound books that smell of rich mahogany.
It kind of looks like we're like going to interrogate you, or like you're Sherlock Holmes or something.
So I have terrible lighting in my room here, so it's like the best lighting possible if you want to show off my most predominant feature. Which is like this really nice glare going right into the camera. So I'm just going to be blinding all of your viewers the entire time. It's going to be a great segment, everyone. Get excited.
We're going to start with like a little bit of Cougs and culture here, because we had a very important tweet come out today from one Tanner Mangum.
Well, yeah, so he tweeted, he tweeted a quote from a very important song talking about his need for a right-hand man. Am I right?
He did. So he said the line from Right Hand Man, "We are outgunned, outmanned, outnumbered, outplanned. We got to make an all-out stand, and I'm going to need a right-hand man." No context, no tweets before, no tweets after.
No quotation marks?
No quotation marks.
So there's a lot to take in with this tweet. I mean, obviously, you guys said it best. He had zero context, but I'm looking at this from a very layered perspective. There's a lot going on here. First of all, is he even talking about sports? Could he be talking about relationships? Does he need a wingman? I mean, he's QB1 at like one of the most important quarterback schools in the country. Like maybe he doesn't feel like he has a true compadre that can really just be his confidant wingman and help him out in his time of need, you know? Maybe he got burned by someone. Maybe, Bo Hod.
Maybe stabbed him in the back, literally.
Maybe he and Matt Hadley are in a fight.
Maybe him and Matt Hadley are fighting. That's a very valid point. That is usually his right hand man.
Have we seen any posts of the two of them on Instagram lately?
The main point to me was that Tanner knows Hamilton lyrics. That's my main takeaway, which just made me really happy in general.
Right. Now, if you haven't seen Hamilton or heard it, this is George Washington singing this in the song.
It is.
So is Tanner George Washington?
Well, okay, and that's another thing that we should talk about, because I know that last season I had Taysom. I had Taysom pegged as my George Washington, and Tanner was our Alexander Hamilton. But our roles have shifted. So is Tanner our new George Washington?
I think so, yeah. I mean, and then for someone, for a Hamilton-like character, you need someone who's, young, scrappy, and hungry. I think that's what we're looking for.
There it is.
So if we're looking for someone who on this roster really fits that mold, I would venture to say someone like Riley Burt, because, hold out, he's been sitting out this entire last year playing on the scout team. He had a really nice freshman year at the running back position where he had some really good fits and spurts, did a nice job on kickoff return. So maybe he's thinking, I need to motivate this. I'm not saying that Riley Burt is prideful in the way that Hamilton was, but maybe he's just like throwing this out there and saying, you know what? He's thinking really like deep about this and saying, all right, I'm going to get him motivated. I'm going to say I need someone like this. I need my right-hand man, and then he's going to step up and do it. So
I don't think that's too far of a stretch.
No, maybe it's an invitation for someone to step up and be that guy.
Since we're already on very serious dead season topics, let's move into, we're going to do a 3 things segment with Jake, and I think we're going to have Jake tell us not the 3 things he's looking forward to most for football season, because we're still a ways away from that, but the 3 things that he's looking forward to here within the next 2 months while the dead season continues in all its glory.
So the fun things to speculate about during the dead season are things that are like relatively irrelevant and things that you can speculate about, because it's not like you're talking about, position changes or, what's happening in practices and relationships on and off the court kind of thing. It's like just mostly fun stuff that's not really affecting people emotionally. It's nice to kind of just joke around about that stuff. One of the things which we kind of discussed a little bit before we started recording was potential jersey partnerships and or, like branding kind of things. And I think that we discussed, apparently there's some stuff floating out there talking about how maybe BYU basketball or football could be going from a Nike school to a brand Jordan school, a la Michigan and North Carolina. They've done the last couple years. And who knows? I don't think that that's the case, just because I don't think that BYU, like if you go on, like right now, if you go to Nike.com and you look in the like collegiate apparel stuff section, you can sort them by teams. In the BYU, if you click on BYU, there's one item in all of like Nike.com that's for sale there. It's like a BYU hoodie from like 2009.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's not that great. So just based off of like retail opportunities, and we know that like BYU just barely had to, rehauled their entire bookstore to have a more Nike-centric section.
They did.
Just barely though. And so I don't think that BYU's in like enough standing with Nike and brand Jordan to like say, hey, we want your premier, licensed apparel group to be, associated with our university, and we can demand that kind of a thing. I mean, maybe that's the case. Maybe someone high up in the church has a really good relationship with Michael Jordan. I don't know. That being said, maybe BYU needs to look elsewhere. Maybe they should be asking Adidas for more money or for Under Armour. Wait for it.
Okay.
The Big Baller brand. Maybe they need to go into that.
Oh, dear.
Hard pass on that one.
I think there'd be a revolt if BYU went away from Nike.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Among the 3 of us here, do any of you want to switch from Nike? Because I'm very comfortable with Nike. I'm great with Nike.
I love me some Nike, but if Under Armour says, hey, we'll give you $10 million a year more than Nike is.
Okay, I mean, I can be bought, but Under Armour sure makes some ugly uniforms. Okay, so number 1 is clothing, sponsorship brands. What do we got for number 2?
Number 2 is like facilities and other things that could be upgraded. I mean, I feel like I'm constantly talking about Lavelle Edwards Stadium getting upgraded in some way.
Like Wi-Fi, maybe? We need Wi-Fi.
Yeah, Wi-Fi. It's a very important thing for millennials, apparently.
And caffeine.
Gotta be able to tweak the games. Yeah, having caffeine there. So, I mean, I'm thinking other stuff in terms of like restructuring the entire stadium, maybe building it where there's the suite level is different. Maybe it's lower to the field. Maybe there's 2 decks kind of a thing. I'm thinking, what can we do to make this? I mean, if you think about overall experience with college football, you see a lot of student sections. I'm not sure what it is with if the Rock is this way or what, how it measures up. But the rest of the country, student attendance is down. I think overall attendance at most college football games is a little bit down. Very seldom do you see schools that have consecutive sellouts just because, the high quality of television that we have now and just people like being lazy and staying inside and not spending a bunch of money on a ticket and being out in the elements. So, I mean, there's the obvious things which we can talk about in terms of like upgrading a stadium. But then there's the ridiculous things that we can talk about in terms of upgrading a stadium. I think I actually wrote something a few years ago talking about free popcorn. Like everyone should just get free popcorn and then like
at Le Schwab?
Yeah, and then Mormon families would just show up in droves and be like, yeah, we heard there's free popcorn. We have 17 trash bags. Can you fill them up, please?
Hey, I used to work concessions, and we threw away so much popcorn.
Maybe something that I've just now thinking about this. I remember thinking about a post previously where I wanted to write something where it was like food items that you could buy at the stadium based off of the personalities of each player. It doesn't. It's like a complete stretch, where it's like, Eric Mika's dunking style equals this type of hamburger,
Or like a triple-double in honor of Kyle Collinsworth or something like that.
Yeah,
What would Tanner Mangum's be?
Yeah.
It'd be a milkshake.
Or apple
It'd be
pie.
It'd be like an apple pie milkshake.
Ooh, a pie shake.
Ooh, yeah, apple pie milkshake.
I would buy that.
Perfect.
Oh my gosh. I would totally buy
fantastic.
that. And I would think of Tanner. What's our third thing?
The third thing is probably just I think a lot of speculation about either like conferences. I mean, last year was just rife with Big 12 fun stuff. I remember writing something about BYU joining different conferences. I said that BYU is going to join the Big 12. And I said, no, wait, they're going to join the SEC. Actually, they're going to join the AFC West. And then I think
I remember your piece on this.
I remember I wrote something about like BYU joining the solar system because Pluto had just Pluto left the conference, so BYU is going to join that. And people got so mad. I kid you not. Like, I got so many. I remember reading Facebook messages during state conference and just seeing the comments being like, "This person needs to get fired so fast." And I was just like, all right.
I think it's been nice to not have that this offseason, but are you saying we should have that this offseason?
I think there's probably a lot of opportunity to make fun of that this offseason and I mean, maybe just reopen all those old wounds. I remember writing something recently about what BYU football will look like within the next 5 years.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting to think about because there's a lot of consistency because you kind of know who the players are going to be because with BYU, you have the signing day and then most of them go on 2-year missions. And so you have an idea of who's going to be on your roster in 5 years, which is kind of funny.
It's kind of nice in that way.
Yeah. And so you can kind of like make that prediction. And then with the coaching staff, you have a pretty good idea that, all right, Kalani's probably not going to leave. He's not going to be, wanting to go somewhere else. And I don't think that he's going to be the next Gary Crowton where he has one good season of success and then kind of falls off. I don't see that happening.
Mm-mm.
You kind of know who your coach is. You probably know who your head coach is going to be. And you have a pretty good idea who some of the players are going to be. I mean, I was speculating about the assistant coaches of who would be gone and who would be staying. I speculated that Ty Detmer would probably still be here. And that's neither a good thing or a bad thing. That's just kind of like
a thing.
He's doing well enough to, keep himself, employed, but not doing well enough that like a Texas or a Texas A&M would want to try and bring him back to
not yet
kind of a thing. Yeah. So, I mean, I think kind of like taking those predictions, which are kind of serious, to the more ridiculous level as to what could be happening. So think about maybe BYU wouldn't have football in 5 years. And that's where people start getting really mad at me. And that's why.
Yes, I would imagine. Did you say anything about us being in a conference in 5 years, or do you think we'll still be independent?
I still think we'll be independent. I hope that there would be some kind of partnership. We already scheduled so many games with the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Like I think every single year we have 2 or 3 games with the Pac-12 conference. And so I know that I think it's Jamie Zanzanovich or something. I can't remember what his name is, but he used to be like the co-commissioner of the West Coast Conference. Now he works in the conference at the Pac-12 in some capacity under Larry Scott. So I think that because there's a good relationship there, because they've already signed on to play so many games with the Pac-12, I think that they could just say, all right, this is what we'll do. Guarantee 4 games with the Pac-12. 2
that would be really nice.
1 home, 2 road, and 1 neutral site game in Vegas every single year.
That's not a bad compromise. Oh, yeah, and we've got the new Vegas stadium, which will probably factor into the 5-year plan some way or another.
Yeah, at some point. And I think that better bowl games will be coming to Vegas too, and I hope that BYU can kind of like latch on to that.
So those are our 3 things with Jake. Before we let you go, so you did mention that piece you wrote about where BYU football will be in 5 years, and we did reference the piece we will link to just for fun about the conference talk that got everyone all riled up. You haven't started your dead season series posts yet because we're still waiting for baseball to die down a little bit. And we're still almost 100 days out from football season. So you have time. But can you tell us, are you planning to get some dead season posts up this year?
Oh, yeah. I've been talking with some folks. And, the first one that we wanted to do, and maybe since BYU hired Heath Schroyer as their assistant coach to replace Terry Nashif, I was going to speculate that they should hire Lavar Bell. Because, just hear me out.
Okay.
There's a lot of exposure. There's anytime he tweets or says something, people go crazy, and everyone knows about it.
No
Lots of
publicity is
exposure.
bad publicity, right?
Yeah, exactly. Second,
I mean,
he has 2 sons who are still, very good at basketball.
True.
They're committed to UCLA, but if their dad is coaching at BYU, they're definitely going to come to BYU.
ugh.
You bring 2 pretty talented players, a lot of national exposure. If you want to, have the big baller shoe brand, maybe you get that too. Not that that's bringing anything to the table.
Mormons are too cheap for big baller brand.
That's true.
They need stuff like free popcorn.
If he did come here, how long do you think he would last at BYU?
It's 7 days, maybe
Yeah.
8.
Maybe pushing it.
But if you want to make people mad, write that piece. We encourage you.
There's one last thing I wanted to mention. I wasn't sure if y'all saw this earlier today or how privy you are to the Snapchat of certain pseudo-celebrities here in Los Angeles. But
I did see that.
Oh,
I don't know if you know this. Earlier today, Kourtney
it's Kourtney. Yep.
Kardashian snapped a picture of the LA Temple.
That would be a good dead season. Is she getting baptized? The question on
if
everyone's
she is,
mind.
That family would be huge BYU football fans.
Oh my gosh.
Can you imagine that? Like,
Get
I
them
mean, I'm just trying to, that's just, one, just them trying to see them embrace, Provo, Utah culture. Be great.
Well, Jake, always fun to catch up, especially during
Always.
the off season when we can just talk about these important things. But thanks for hopping on with us.
No problem. I'm delighted that people will listen to my nonsense.
Thank you to Jake for hopping on with us. It's always fun to talk with Jake and
Always
speculate about some fun dead season stuff.
No matter what it is.
We'll be sure to retweet his articles when they come out.
Absolutely. So we will move right into Talk of the Town. So we're going to start with some basketball and recruiting news. This is pretty exciting. So this kid's name is Trevin Nell. He is from Woods Cross. He's a Mission First kid. But he was committed to Cal, and he has decommitted from Cal and is going to play at BYU after his mission.
It'll be nice to have another sharpshooter in a couple years, but
Yeah.
we'll take it anytime. Speaking of basketball, Luke Worthington is finally home.
Yes,
so I
that's
think
everyone.
That's all of our missionaries. So he was in the Santiago East Chile mission. He's back now, so welcome home, Luke. Haven't seen any pictures or videos of him on the court yet, but I'm sure they are forthcoming.
Yeah, I know. I wonder if you pulled a Dalton Nixon and was on the court the same day.
Maybe.
Speaking of sticking with Luke here, this is actually from Jess's mom, Angela, and she said with a name like Luke Worthington, shouldn't there be a Sir preceding it?
It does sound very proper.
I think there should. Sir Luke Worthington. That is quite the name.
It is. Ben Criddle at Criddle Benjamin, which is a new handle for him, by the way. Eric Mika has worked out for the LA Lakers. So he says Mark Madsen actually spent some time teaching Eric some new post moves.
It's a fun fact, huh?
Yep, so...
We're still on Eric Mika watch. I think the Lakers are the only team that I saw that he worked out for within this past week. So this is from at None the Wiser with a Y. He said, some days are better than others. Today was one of those days. Thanks, Jimmer. So it looks like Jimmer was, I think, one of the keynotes at Fathers and Sons. Was there all weekend hanging out with those guys who went to that. So we'd love to talk to someone who went. If you did, let us know.
It makes my heart happy to see Jimmer on BYU campus. On to football. Jack DeMooney. I swear we have a tweet from him every week because he's so good about
keeps
tweeting.
Us up to date, yeah. Hashtag I'm Jack DeMooney.
Says Coach Kalani's M2L Foundation, which is More to Life. BYU football players prepping dinner for the homeless shelter in Los Angeles. So there's
So
Corbin
cool.
Kafusi.
So I think they're
not
out
sure
there for their upcoming Fan Fest, spending some time in California. And I know that Tanner Mangum tweeted a bunch of pictures too from that same outing, but it looks like they're really gaining a lot. And I know that Jess and I love this because we're all about building chemistry in the off season. And what better way to do that than to serve together? So
Definitely.
this could have gone in our dead season talk with Jake about, stadium upgrades and whatnot. So this isn't the stadium, it's the IPF. But it got a brand new field for the first time in decades, I'm sure.
It looks very nice.
It's nice, brand new, and it's got the Cougars in the end zone and the stretch Y in the middle of the field. That is looking really good.
It used to be 2 fields, and
did.
they've taken them out and just made one big field.
I think that'll be a lot better for the football team as they're practicing. Nice thing to pitch to recruits. They'll come be impressed.
Yeah, that turf needed replacement. So it's really nice now, too.
Yeah, we love it.
We did get a kickoff time for the BYU and LSU matchup.
Which means that football is close enough for us to get kickoff time.
Yeah, so this is September 2nd. This is Labor Day weekend at 8:30 p.m. Central, 7:30 Mountain on ESPN. Kind of a big deal. So this is from the NRG Stadium in Houston.
Yeah,
so
it's a little late in Texas, but it's prime time for us.
I'm pretty sure it will get plenty of eyes on that game.
Yes, I think so.
Last week we did a segment on power couples, so we got a couple additions that we missed. So this one was actually from Liz Darger, and it says, I give you Mr. and Mrs. Steeplechase, Mitchell Briggs and Christy Rush Briggs both qualify for the NCAA Track and Field Nationals. Husband and wife team.
Yeah, that is a power couple for you there, both qualifying for nationals. So Randy Shamo made sure that we saw this one. Thank you, Randy. And going along with what's next, 15 BYU track and field athletes, including that power couple, are headed to Eugene, Oregon to compete later this week. So keep an eye out for that.
We have one other nomination for power couples. This is from Nate Kennedy at N8RIX. His nomination was Allie Hancock and Daniel Schneeman. On the baseball team.
Daniel on the baseball team.
And she's from softball.
So there you go. So we've got a track couple and a BYU softball couple. So we love that you guys were sending us more of these. Keep them coming in. We're never not going to love BYU power couples.
Let us know. What else is next? Baseball is in the NCAA tournament, which is the first time in about 15 years that they've made it. So it's been a long time.
And the fashion in which they made it, amazing.
I wasn't sure it was going to happen.
It wasn't supposed to 4 times in a row.
No, they should have clinched the outright championship in the WCC. They just needed to win one game against Gonzaga last weekend and couldn't do it.
Didn't do it. So
they went to the conference tournament, lost their first game, got into the loser's bracket, but then made their way all the way through and beat Gonzaga to win the conference tournament.
It's the type of stuff they make sports movies about. I mean, not that they're an underdog. They've been good all season. But for them to win four elimination games in a row to win the tournament and make it to the NCAA tournament is just incredible.
So they are in the Stanford region. So they are playing Cal State Fullerton this weekend.
Also next, we've got our last Fan Fest coming up. It is in Corona, California on Saturday, June 3rd at the Santana Regional Park, and that's from noon to 3 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And again, we're still waiting for someone who goes to one of these fan fests to hop on the show. So we'll be keeping an eye out for some of our followers who are there to see if you'll hop on and tell us how that experience is. But it is worth noting we are off next week. We're on our kind of crazy summer schedule. Yeah. So we're off next week, and then Jess is headed across the pond to London. So off on June 5th. We'll be back the week after, and I'll have probably my husband Jordan co-hosting with me. Then we'll take another week off, and then we'll be back. So bear with us. As for our sponsors this week, our first one is Bryce Harper, the baseball player for the Washington Nationals. We know that you hate BYU, Bryce Harper, but we think that you would have fit right in at the Miami Beach Bowl.
Also brought to you this week by Robbie McCombs and his new fiancée. Congratulations. We are very excited for you.
Our honorary BYU athlete power couple. May you always stay loyal to the white and blue. For Jess and Mary, we will see you in 2 weeks.